An entitled Karen thinks I'm lying that I just had knee surgery, claiming that I'm faking it just so I can get to ride in the wheelchair at the store we're in. But once I started taking my bandages off and showing her my post-surgery knee, she backtracked everything she said and eventually ran out the store. Here's what happened. So for a bit of backstory, this happened about 10 years ago. I was 22 at the time, and I had to have knee surgery to clear out some shredded cartilage about a week after my birthday. This story takes place 3 days after surgery. My mom, who's a nurse, and this will be important later, as well as my husband, who was my boyfriend of 2 years at the time, and my best friend, decided to take me shopping to try get my mind off the surgery and to pick up some craft supplies so I wouldn't be bored while off work. I should mention it was an orthopedic surgery, so I didn't need to use crutches if I didn't feel the need, and I should be walking some. When we got to the craft store, which was not our first stop, my husband and best friend made me use one of the store wheelchairs. I was being stubborn because I could still walk, just not very fast or for very long without breaks. Since I really didn't want to be in that chair, my husband and friend decided to make a game out of it. They would do stuff like who can push me the fastest. Now, you might think we are wrong, but let me state this was in the middle of the day on a Monday, so the store was not busy, and my husband and best friend would check the aisle to make sure that the coast was clear. Literally nobody was being bothered. After one of the speeding events, I was looking at something in an aisle, and my mom pulled my husband and best friend away to go look at something. It was something she thought I would like, and she wanted it to be a surprise. Well, I decided I didn't want whatever it was I was looking at, so I gently stood up and I put it back on the shelf. And this is right when the entitled Karen of this story just suddenly appears. This Karen appears out of nowhere, berating me for using the wheelchair as a toy, and how there are people who actually need it. I look up and I calmly explain that I just had surgery, and that is why I'm using the wheelchair. She then goes on and on. She starts saying, I saw what your friends were doing, and you were obviously lying. I explained that they were trying to make me feel better, and I will tell them to push me normally from now on. But this did not appease this stupid entitled Karen, as she still kept berating me. At this point, I just roll up my pant leg, and I show her the compression bandages that I'm still wearing. She goes on and on, saying, that means nothing. I could have just wrapped my knee up as an excuse, just in case we were caught. I bet the other people with you also have their knees wrapped. My group eventually returns at this point and says the same thing as me, but the Karen is still not having it and claims that we're just lying. I then look at my mom and I ask if I can take off my bandages, as they were supposed to be removed the next day. She says I really shouldn't, but she could rewrap it for me if need be. At this point, I take off the bandages before anyone can stop me, showing this stupid entitled Karen my knee in all its post-surgery glory. It was bruised and swollen right at the incision site, and you could even still see the iodine on my skin. This entitled Karen's face goes white, and she looks like she's going to be sick. She then starts stammering about how it didn't need to go this far. As my mom is rewrapping my knee, scolding me and the Karen under her breath, I look at the Karen and I say to her, what else did you want me to do? I told you and they told you. I even showed you the bandages. You wouldn't get off your high horse and insisted that I was lying. At this point, a staff member comes to check if we need anything, and the entitled Karen runs away and scurries for the door. After that, we had a pleasant rest of our day and even stopped for ice cream on the way home. How obnoxious is that lady? The entitled Karen of this story was super rude. I mean, for starters, it's literally none of her business what they were doing. If they were running up and down the aisles with that wheelchair, literally just trying to have some fun, is it really bothering you? The answer to that, by the way, is no. They were literally just having fun and spending time together. Just because people are having fun doesn't mean you have the right to try and spoil that fun, especially when it's harmless fun. Nobody was getting hurt. Nobody did anything wrong. You, the entitled Karen, just didn't like that people were laughing and enjoying their lives, which is clearly something you struggled to do. So good for you for putting this entitled Karen in her place. She clearly was just on a power trip, and she absolutely had it coming. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My sister has been living with my husband and I for a while now, and I seriously don't feel like it's working out. And now I feel extremely guilty and overwhelmed, and I seriously don't know what to do. So my husband and I live with my sister, and I don't think it's working out. And I do feel extremely guilty. To give you some background from the beginning, I was on a family trip last year with my sister, my husband, and my dad. My sister had a huge seizure, and we learned that she has brain cancer. This was the worst time of my life, and the thought of losing my sister was too much to bear, as we are extremely close. My husband, who was then my fiance, as well as myself, decided to move back to the US from England and help with everything she was going through. Packing all her things, moving out to Denver, flying around the country for doctors. It was a horrible time and was so scary. We were told it was terminal and inoperable. Fast forward to last year, and it's still terminal and still inoperable. But we've gotten a lot more information and realized she should be with us for a long time to come. At least we hope so. We're all living in a house together, and I thought things were fine, but slowly she has begun opening up to me me about how she feels like a loser, feels uncomfortable living with me and my husband, and wants to have her own friends. I completely understand, and it breaks my heart to hear this, but honestly, things have just gotten so tense. She's extremely OCD about how things are arranged in my house. Okay, that's fine, but the way she goes about things has just been so rude to both me and my husband. There's been a lot of things that I've allowed in the past for fear that she wouldn't want a relationship with me, but I've been going through a lot of therapy and learning to try and establish boundaries for myself. This recently came to a head over something very minuscule. It was literally just a dish mat I bought, and I didn't ask her if it was okay, and she got extremely upset with me, and it has turned into a 5-day silent treatment from her. I could go into detail, but long story short is that I'm afraid us living together is going to tarnish the relationship beyond repair, and I don't know how to get through to her that I'm not judging her. I just don't want to be treated with disrespect. She asked me what she could do differently, and I told her I had honestly lost patience and want to just have her guarantee that she will still love me no matter what, but that I think she does need to move out. I feel such extreme guilt, and I can't tell if I just misinterpreted everything. I don't know what to think anymore. I don't want her to feel abandoned, but I can't continue to live in this state of shame and anxiety, and I really feel some distance would help all of us. Does anyone have any advice on how to handle this with love? I'm scared she will bottle things up and decide to resent me forever. What should I do? Your sister is being very disrespectful to you in your home, and in my opinion, I don't think there's any reason why you should feel guilty about establishing boundaries, because that's what this is about. She is clearly overstepping what's going on in this house, and she is going far beyond what is acceptable. And you know what? She's even mentioned that, hey, I don't want to live in this house anymore. She wants to have some kind of independence, her own friends, as well as many other things. And I completely understand where she's coming from. And it kind of sounds like you both want the same thing. I'm sure you would feel a lot happier with some space and some distance from her. And I don't think this is you losing your patience. Like, really, I don't. You're both adults. You're both in your 30s. And I think this is a conversation that you absolutely can have. And in that same vein of thought, she absolutely needs to understand that her attitude and demeanor and the hostility that she's instilling in that house is completely inappropriate. So I think having an honest conversation that's obviously gauged towards how you know your sister would probably do both of you some really good. She clearly wants to move out, and it sounds like you could use some space from your sister. An entitled mom and her kid tried to invade an adults-only part of a resort, but I simply wasn't having it since I didn't want my vacation ruined by them. So I told the attendants that they need to leave, and thankfully they were escorted off the property. Here's what happened. So my husband and I are currently vacationing at a 5-star hotel. There are 2 different pools, one for kids and families and the other Serenity Quiet one for just adults. You have to be 21 years of age or older, and trust me, it's enforced. Both of the pools are very clearly marked as such by a large sign placed around the perimeters of each of them. We have been here for a few days, and it has been literal paradise. We have not run into many families or kids, and those that we did see were exceptionally well behaved, and they were all well attended to by their parents. Well, that is until today. We went to the adult pool and got set up on 2 chairs. The pool was in front of us, and the hot tub was behind us. It was a tad cold, so we ventured over to the hot tub, where we saw a kid about 7 years old playing with a lot of Star Wars toys on the steps. Call me a Karen, I don't really care, but this really set me off. We came to this resort specifically because of the 2 very separate pools with enforced rules. I want to relax. I don't want to feel like hearing kids screaming on my vacation. I went over to the attendant stand and I asked if the hot tub was for families, and if so, I wanted to know if there was one that was adults only and where I could find that. I knew the answer, but I just didn't want to come across as too aggressive. I was told that the hot tub was indeed for adults only, so I proceeded to tell both the pool attendants that there was a child in the hot tub and I didn't know if his parents were nearby. Now, when the pool attendant heard this, they basically said, "Oh no, that's not happening." They then very quickly walked over to the hot tub and told a woman who was apparently their mother that the child was absolutely not supposed to be there and they needed to leave. So the child was told to get out, and then the crying and screaming ensued, and he and the mom then just sat on the chairs. But that's when it gets a little bit better. After about 5 to 10 minutes, they were still sitting on the chairs in the adult area, and again, the attendant came over and informed them that the area was adults only and they're not even allowed to sit there, even if they're not actively using the hot tub. Well, the entitled mother of this story was upset. She angrily packed up her stuff, and the both of them were ushered out of the adults area. I suspect they were there because the kids' pool area was super busy, and the entitled mother didn't want to deal with the other kids hogging all the chairs. We ended up tipping the attendants generously on the way out, and we are planning our next vacation here. The best part about all of this is that this particular hotel has a kids program all day. It's basically like a kids club, and the kids and family pool is actually much bigger, and it's a lot nicer than the adults pool. It also has kids water attractions, like ones you would see at a splash pad, a huge water bucket that spills water, fountains, bubblers, you name it. Why would you not want to be over there? And to answer anybody's questions of what if the child is neurodivergent and has sensory issues, well, honestly, I don't care. If the kid's overstimulated, he could be taken back to the hotel room for some quiet time, or literally anywhere else on the resort that is open and available to him. I also have sensory issues due to cancer treatment, and I'm not about to sit there and deal with someone else's poor planning. It's not my problem while I'm on vacation, especially while there are multiple outlets and accommodations for children and literally only one for adults. You know what? If I was in that kind of situation and I spent all this money to enjoy my vacation and I had some kind of exclusive access to a specific part of this resort, I would not want some stupid kid coming over and trying to ruin that. And the entitled mom in this story and her kid absolutely should not have even been over there. Literally, from what's described, there's a lot of things over there that the kid would enjoy. There's no reason they couldn't go over there and have a good time. So honestly, I don't think the original poster was being a Karen. They were seriously just trying to preserve their vacation, and they didn't want some annoying kid over there trying to ruin it. My boyfriend had 2 girlfriends the entirety of our relationship, and I feel so absolutely betrayed, and I seriously don't know what to do. So to start things out, I was originally seeing my boyfriend for a few weeks in May of 2019, and this is right about when he blocked me abruptly. I was upset at the time, but I moved on until I saw him on a dating app in March of 2020. We were together from then, taking a while for the girlfriend status, but doing everything a relationship was until then. From 2016 to 2020, he lived in a city over an hour away from the hometown we're both from. I found out during our talking stage in 2020 that he had gotten another girlfriend after he blocked me from approximately July 2019 all the way until January 2020. This was hard at the time, but I got over it. He moved home in March of 2020, hence why I found him in an online app. Over our relationship, he continued to visit the city he used to live in every few weeks just to see friends. Our relationship in our hometown was quite happy. All his friends in our hometown knew we were together, all my friends knew, and he had met my extended family, stayed here every week, what for dates, holidays, and every single thing a normal couple does. The only problem that existed was that he would not introduce me to his family, which came to a serious discussion after about 3 years of our relationship. He only lived approximately 15 minutes from my house. His reasoning was having severe anxiety over the matter, but I believed him, as he supposedly went to therapy and took anxiety medication. I believed this was coming soon, and it was the only thing missing from our relationship. I eventually found out last night that he had another girlfriend during our relationship in the city he used to live in. This girl was different to the girl he originally dated. The reason he would not introduce me to his family is because he introduced her approximately a year ago. One of his friends from home followed this secret girlfriend from Dublin and pieced together he had another relationship. He also went on holidays with her, had her stay in his house, and did everything he did with me but with her. I contacted his family, and they said he always said I was just a friend, and that this other girl was his only girlfriend. I contacted his other girlfriend, and she immediately blocked me. I can't believe she doesn't want the same truth I so desperately seek. He continues to lie to me and say that she is just a friend, but I'm not stupid, and I know my relationship is over, but it breaks my heart to think that he may have a happily ever after with her if she believes his lies. He lived a double life, having everyone in our hometown except for his family know that we are together, having everyone he knew in the other city know the other girl was his girlfriend. I'm at a loss. I was the other woman. I spent 3 years of my life on someone who had 2 full serious relationships. He never slipped up once, never called me the wrong name, never let a notification appear on his phone from her. I'm honestly blown away, and I seriously don't know what to do. Well, I think first and foremost, my main question is, are you still with this guy? Please tell me you've broken up with him. But the original poster goes on to say, yes, they have broken up with them. And honestly, there's no happily ever after in this kind of situation. Your boyfriend sucks. He was cheating on you and wasting your life. Like, seriously, this is some really good news to find out that he is not faithful. You don't need this in your life. I mean, talk about a get out of jail free card. Like, oh my gosh, can you imagine dealing with this? Can you imagine always being up against that barrier of thinking like, okay, why doesn't my boyfriend want to introduce me to his family? But now at least you know that this guy is a scumbag, and hopefully his other girlfriend will finally come to her senses and realize that he is probably playing her with another woman that she might not even know about. I'm concerned about my girlfriend's new friend from work, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So my partner and I have been together for 4.5 years. We have lived together most of that, so we're very close. We have a good relationship, and we're currently looking at buying our own place. Last week, she was away from Monday through Friday for a work trip. She works in education, and it was a trip leading 20 to 30 students on a field course with other members of staff. Our communication was much lower than it usually is when she is away, but I do know that it was a very busy and hectic week. Since she came back, she has mentioned a new friend a few times who she met on the trip. He also has a long-term girlfriend, and they've been together for approximately 5 years. This friend works at the same institution, though in a different building across town. My girlfriend occasionally has to work at this building, but it has been quite rare in the past. This week, she's been there more than normal, and she has had good reasons to be be there when I've asked about it, but it's still been a departure from the ordinary. I know that there was some kind of medical emergency on the trip that meant the two of them were up until 5 a.m. helping a student, and it was a horrible experience all around with absolutely no romantic undertones. But a part of me thinks that something like that will have cemented a bond and a friendship between the two of them, and maybe that's an unfair statement. I've also noticed her texting him a few times this week. Not excessive, but it is pretty limited. After last week, they don't have any work together, so this is nothing about work, and they are literally just texting as friends. She hasn't been secretive about it or anything like that, and has told me when I've asked her what she's laughing at when looking at her phone. They've sent a couple of quite old photos of themselves that fit a joke that they were having, but it's right about then that alarm bells started ringing. Later today, he is coming to her building, and they're going to go swimming in the sea after work. This is a very common thing here, particularly in the circles that we are in, so it's not quite as niche as it sounds, but it is something my partner has wanted to do for a while, but hasn't gotten around to it yet. They're also going to have pizza afterwards. This morning, I mentioned to her that I'm not entirely comfortable, and I'm a bit suspicious of this friend. She was very sympathetic and loving, explaining that I'm seeing something that simply isn't there, and she says that she loves me and that we're currently viewing houses together, meaning that she wants to live with me. I did feel a bit better at the time, but I really can't shake this bad feeling. She asked if I wanted to come swimming and go for pizza afterwards as well, but I couldn't make it due to other commitments. They might bring the pizza back here instead, so there has been an offer to include me in some kind of way. She has other male friends, and I've never had any problem before, but all of these things combined seemed like so many red flags coming up all at once. I trust and believe her 100%, and at the same time though, I feel like this could really be an awful thing. Again, I believe her when she says this is 100% platonic, but I do feel like maybe she's enjoying this attention from someone new. I'm not sure what I'm looking for by posting this. Maybe just try to get all my thoughts out and maybe have a more in-depth talk with my partner later on. What should I do? I mean, honestly, from what you described, it does sound pretty innocent. For the most part, it really does seem like your girlfriend is open to you being involved in whatever's going on here. First and foremost, she expressed that she loves you and that yes, you're looking for a place to live together in. And she's also invited you to go swimming and get pizza afterwards. And there's also a chance that they could bring the pizza back to your place. Like seriously, I don't think there's anything nefarious going on here. And I don't think it would be appropriate to make any kind of assumptions about what is or isn't happening. And sure, I totally get where you're coming from. There's a male coworker that's giving her a lot of attention, and it seems like she's spending more time talking to him than she is talking to you. And that definitely warrants some kind of conversation between the two of you, absolutely. It sounds like the two of you have a really good thing going together, and from the sounds of it, it really seems like you can actually talk to each other and have some kind of adult conversation. That is really good in my opinion. So maybe going about your plan of saying, hey, let's sit down and have a conversation about this might be the best thing for the both of you. It will probably help her explain what's exactly going on, but it also will give you a chance to get everything off your chest and express any kind of concerns you have with this guy. It sounds like the two of you are also open enough where she might even let you read some of the text messages. And maybe the next time any of these group outings come along, maybe make sure you have the time to go with her just to see how everything is going. But in my opinion, you have every right to be concerned. Right now, it does seem innocent, but it could easily go at a rapid pace and change it to something that it absolutely should not be. So having this conversation would really be a good idea. It will hopefully help you dispel any of your fears of what's going on, and if anything, it can help you establish boundaries of what is okay and what is not okay. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.